Right then, welcome back to the channel. Stephen Howson. 5 things that we learned watching Manchester United book our place in the next round against Reading. In at number 1 then, breaking down a low block. So Reading sat in their own half. We had to break them down. They got loads of bodies behind the ball. They kept it rigid and disciplined and very, very tight. You have to give them a lot of credit for that. But it's something that we're going to have to get used to, especially with the form that we're in at home. 11 wins in a row at Old Trafford, not to be sniffed at. 78% possession, 25 shots, only 6 on target, which I thought was a little bit of an issue, but is what it is. Complete and utter domination. But we did allow ourselves to go in at half-time 0-0, and that was testament to sort of the job that Reading done getting everybody behind the ball. But we didn't get frustrated. We kept our composure, and we kept plugging away. We kept creating chances, and ultimately we found our opening. 2 from CASEMIRO to get us started. The ball from Anthony was absolutely sublime. And then obviously a long-range effort and a spectacular one from Fred. Pretty much collapsed Reading. And I think teams are going to increasingly look to try and frustrate United as we get more used to what Ten Hag wants and as the players start getting better equipped to be able to implement the sort of plan that Ten Hag wants to see. You're going to see more and more low blocks. So it was good to see that we could break one down today. And we've got tools on the bench as well if we can't do it with what we started with. Number 2, 2 reserve centre-backs. Long season. You're going to need your squad. I worry about a few of the key players, CASEMIRO, Rashford, Eriksen, namely. With not really having too much that can replace him. Yes, Garnacho could replace Marcus, but in terms of the goal output at the moment, not really. We're quite reliant on him. And then obviously CASEMIRO and Eriksen, we can't replace them. Not with what we've got in the squad, I don't believe, anyway. But we can replace the centre-halves, whether that's Shaw or Maguire and Lindelof. And longer-term, Mengi, even Tuan Zabi's back in training at the moment for us. But we did see Maguire and Lindelof against Reading last night. I think one of the easiest nights' work they'll get. Yes, it was Reading, but they didn't have anything to do. Obviously, made no mistakes. We did concede from a corner. Maguire was blocked from attacking the ball, and you get that with lower league opposition. They have some quite well-drilled set-play manoeuvres. But Maguire had 4 clearances, 2 interceptions, 2 tackles, 3 out of 3 aerials, 1 just a blocking off at the corner, which doesn't really get covered by stats because he never actually attempted the duel. Lindelof had 4 clearances, 1 tackle, only 2 out of 8 aerials, 1 obviously the weaker link out of the 2 aerially. Number 3, Ten Hag wants the cup. It was a strong starting 11 against a much weaker side. With no disrespect there to Reading, it was a much weaker side. But he went with it. He went with a strong one. They're 14th in the Championship. They've got a terrible defensive record. Could we have rotated a little bit more? Maybe. But we got the job done with minimal fuss. I think Palestri and Garnacho got a little bit more minutes, improving and increasing the trust that they'll have under Erik Ten Hag. Not a bad thing, and I think that's a positive as we move forward. I think Palestri especially is one that might benefit from the sort of indifferent form that Anthony has been in, although I thought he was quite good tonight, but we'll talk about Anthony in just a second. Ten Hag seems to be playing a bit of a blinder by keeping everybody so hungry for minutes, and I think the management of the squad at the moment is very good, and the only downside that we've got is CASEMIRO and Eriksen. We just don't have the personnel that are able to replace them on any level whatsoever, and I think we're in 4 competitions. The manager needs so much credit for having Manchester United in all those competitions. We're about to enter February, and Manchester United are still competing on all fronts. Think about where we were 6-7 months ago. Think of where we were under Ralph. So depressed, so dejected, so pessimistic. A quadruple is not actually impossible for us to achieve. Let's be honest, we're probably not going to do the league, and we're up against it in Europa, but we could win the Arsenal double. We could do all right. And I think a top 4 finish or even a top 3 finish and a trophy or 2 would be seen as a very positive return for this season. Number 4, CASEMIRO magic. 2 goals, contributing up and down the pitch. He averaged less than 1 goal in 10 for Madrid. He's on 4 in 28 so far, which is 1 in every 7. Almost prolific from defensive midfield. 3 key passes as well as his goals. 4 tackles. he's just an absolute joy to watch. And I thought we'd overpaid for him at the start of the season. I now think we've robbed him. That's how good he's been. And finally, Anthony. So Anthony's probably had 5 or 6 consecutive games where he's been underwhelming, if not poor. And tonight he looked a lot better. Against Reading, he just looked a lot better. And yes, it was just Reading, but he still did it. And the ball that he played for Casemiro's opener was absolutely sublime. He had a fair few chances. He even had a chance right at the end to score, slipped at the wrong moment. But I think it's an improvement on what we've seen. And I think the confidence boost he will get will be quite significant from that sort of performance at home, in the cup. I don't think it'll do him any harm whatsoever. He's been quite open and honest that he's had some trouble. He hasn't alluded to quite what that is. He's just said personal trouble. But I think if he can start building some confidence now, I think he can still be a very effective member of the team. He had 4 key passes against Reading, 6 shots. Unfortunately, none were on target, and that there is the problem, even though some of them came very close. Big area for him to improve on, but a big confidence boost against quite a gritty opposition that, like we said, kept it to 0-0 at half-time. Man of the match from the broadcasters, and something he can definitely go away with as a little bit of a confidence boost. But there you go. That's the 5 things that we learned. Let me know your thoughts on those in the comments below, and I'll catch you lot in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.